Good morning. It's great to have you all here today. I am so excited to welcome you to Blair Academy and looking forward to having all of you get to know our community better. I must mention as an aside that it is not atypical for my day to start at 5, or even a little before. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old at home who are just early risers. So I will not get the chance to sleep in later tomorrow, but I hope all of you do get a chance to do that. Again, I'm so happy to have you here. I want all of you to use this opportunity to determine whether Blair's the right fit for you. Fit's really important. I am so pleased to be part of this community, and I really encourage all of you to ask lots of questions today. You'll have faculty, you'll have staff, students who are here. Go ahead, whether in a formal or informal context, go ahead and introduce yourselves to them. Ask them all the questions that you want to. And of course, with Peter and his wonderful admissions staff, they'll be able to answer lots of the questions you may have. If those aren't answered, I invite all of you to reach out directly to me or other administrators here, whether it's today or on another day, so that you really get a strong sense of what we're all about as a community. I think fit's really important. So it was not too terribly long ago, a little over a year ago, that I was in a not dissimilar situation from all of you. I was deciding whether I was going to apply to Blair Academy to be its next head of school. And over the course of the last year and a half, although it sounds a bit cliched, I fell in love with this school. And I want to tell you for a few minutes while I introduce the day, and you'll hear more of this over the course of the day. I want to introduce to you, from my perspective, why I fell in love with the school and why I think this school is so very special. So it's easy to see for all of you who drove in and walked in today, the starting point is we have an amazingly beautiful campus. Now, I'm not a style over substance person, but I actually do think the environment matters. And this is an environment that, because of how meticulously we take care of it, because of the state-of-the-art facilities that we have, it's really conducive to the kinds of learning and the kind of relationship building that we think is really important here. And to me, from the first moment I stepped on the campus, it was pretty indicative to me that when they take this good care of their facilities and their grounds, it's indicative of the kind of exceptionally good care that the school takes of its students and its families. And then there are all the other accolades and accomplishments of the school that you've seen on the website, you've talked to other people about, the really fabulous college list, the fact that we send our students to the very best, most elite colleges and universities in the country, that our athletic teams are so successful, that our artistic performances are of such stellar quality. And I very much encourage all of you who have not seen some of our shows here to find a time to be able to come to campus and see them. They are world-class quality, and I've been so impressed with our high school students that they're able to produce the kind of artistic works that they are. So, but all the accolades and accomplishments in the beautiful campus and all the interesting curricular work that we do, the service trips to Kenya, all of the various things that you've probably read about on the website, those are fantastic and good starting points. But for me, what made all the difference and why I was willing to take this professional leap and invest my professional future here and bring my family here, who I will be raising at Blair Academy. The thing that was most important to me was the people. Extraordinarily talented faculty who are content experts, nimble with how they teach, but are also great kid people who spend their time in the dorms getting to know our students really well. And just also quite exceptional students. So I came on campus and was introduced to a number of students. And you know, when you first go to a place and you wonder, are they bringing out just the sort of slice of students that you want to see? Does it feel a little bit contrived? But over the course of that time, over the course of my first 4 months here, I came to discover that our students have incredible presence about themselves, have a sense of self, are so engaging and so interesting, not only because of who they are, but because of the work we do here. And those combined, the people and the relationships, really made me compelled to come to Blair. So relationships matter so much. I mean, all of you know that. But relationships matter so much, and we invest our time and our energy in a very strategic way in building relationships between great faculty and great students. And all of that's based on a core philosophy of we know our students, and that's really important. And so we do things like make sure that we have a pretty comprehensive advisor system, a dual advisor system, where our students have an opportunity to not only choose their own advisor, but they have an academic monitor who works very closely with them as well, in order to really get to know who they are. As a faculty, we stop what we're doing 5 times a year, and we discuss with our 75 or 80 faculty every single student, so that we're not necessarily just getting a bit of a snapshot here and there of what the student's experience is like academically or socially or athletically or artistically, but we get this pretty comprehensive mosaic of who they are as individuals. And we also make sure that our school stays the size that it is. There are wonderful schools that are a lot larger and do wonderful work. That's not Blair. We have decided, we put a stake in the ground, this is the size of our school so that we are able to get to know our students exceptionally well. And I think I mentioned a little bit too, we put our best faculty in the dorms so that our students have the opportunity to engage with faculty and that the great learning that happens not just in the classroom but also happens in the dorms. So all of this was so appealing to me and is so important because I think that, again, with all the wonderful things we do here from a technological perspective, from a curricular perspective, the foundation of all great learning are relationships. And when you know students really, really well, you understand their talents and their passions and understand how they learn. And you build trust. So there's a lot out there in the educational world about pushing students past their comfort zones and having them take smart risks. Well, what I've been really pleased about, and we'll continue to work on here, is that we push our students to take those risks so they can be really competitive in the world today. And we get to do that because we build trust. And that trust is so incredibly important. And I think it's exceptionally well done here. So you've also arrived at an exciting time, and I don't say that just because I've just arrived. It's an exciting time at Blair for so many reasons. So we are in the midst, for example, and you'll read about some of these in the magazines and the website. We've just put together a couple of model or experimental classrooms in science and math because we know that higher education is changing a lot and college preparation in the future needs to change. So we're going to be doing the kind of experimentation that's happening across all the elite schools and all the elite colleges and universities. And we're actually on our science side and math side, we're really looking at opportunities for much more student-centered or inquiry-based learning, where it's not necessarily as traditional, the faculty member stands here, imparts content knowledge, and everyone writes it down. But actually, education in the future will look a lot like students working collaboratively together, with a faculty member who's not just helping to impart knowledge, but also serving as a coach. And so that they are working together and using technology in clusters across the classroom. So we're doing a lot of that work now and experimenting with what we want it to look like in the future. Some of you, depending on the way you drove in today, may have seen a fairly large construction site. We're building 2 new dormitories, 2 state-of-the-art facilities for boys and girls, with about 90 beds total. And dormitories are so important on a variety of fronts, but I also, as I mentioned, so much learning happens in the dorms. And in order for us to attract the best faculty from across the country, if not the world, we want to make sure that we have the best faculty housing as well. So we're excited about that project. We're also very excited about building on the strengths of a lot of our leadership programs. So I am, and some of you may have heard this from me before, depending on whether you watched various videos of our convocation or our installation ceremony, but I believe very strongly that the most important leadership skills that our students need to be competitive in the world, but those are things that can be taught. And so, for example, effective communication. In addition to all the content knowledge that our students are learning across the various disciplines, science, math, the humanities, we are very much focusing a lot of our attention on teaching our students to be effective, passionate communicators. Because, I mean, as all of you know, the world's changing a lot. And it's really no longer enough for students to be really smart and get good grades. What's really important is, can you effectively convey who you are, your story, your narrative to people and make them care about it? And so we're putting a lot of energy and investment in that. We just had a friend of mine, a colleague from Harvard, who came about a week and a half ago, who's a communications professor. He stayed an entire day in residence and worked with our students. In fact, I really encourage you, ask some of our students today what that experience was like, having that caliber of communications conversation at Blair. Something that was really very powerful. So we're working with our students to be great, effective communicators. We're also working with them to be team-based problem solvers on global issues that are important to them and to our faculty. And we're also working on spending time with them around their character and developing a moral compass and discussing with them what it's like to be an ethical decision maker. Now, some schools aren't going in that direction. I think that's really important. I think that's really important for them, again, to convey who they are and what they stand for. And that's very important in the college admissions process, but it's really important just as a person in the professional world beyond that. And then we're also going to be focusing much more energy on initiatives around public service, which is something that we do very well here, and it's something we're going to grow even more. So what I love about Blair for our students, based on all the things I've already just said, this is a place where you can go and become your best self. Whatever you choose that to be. So whether your passion is service, or your passion is the trombone, or whether it's playing lacrosse, this is a place where you can come and really develop these individual passions and really truly become your best self. It's also, and I harken back to what I said about raising my family here. So I made a choice that this is where I want to raise my family, and this is where I want my kids to go to high school. Now they're only 6 and 3, so that's a pretty big commitment. This is such a warm and caring and enjoyable community. As much as we focus on the future and our students' future success, we also spend a lot of time making sure that they live in the moment and experience the joy of being adolescents. And so whether it's having carnival days where the head of school sits in the dunk tank, and I did, and got dunked about a dozen times, or going to watch football games under the lights, which as we'll do tonight, and I hope some of you may be able to join us for that. Or making sure that our advisees are spending time with our own families, as mine will be doing on Monday, carving pumpkins and talking about their academic classes and eating pizza together. This is a place of great joy. And you'll see that, I think, as you're walking around, talking to our students. And it's not just because the weather's good, or because it's open house. This is a place where our students are very happy. And that makes a real difference. It makes a difference that they are mutually supportive of one another. And I'll be honest, that doesn't happen necessarily in every school. There's healthy, exciting competition here, but there's a very supportive, collaborative environment here among our students, which is something very impressive. So I know that my time is running short, and I want to make sure that you get all of your questions answered today. Again, please feel free to come directly to me and ask me any questions. I'll be around throughout the course of the day. But I'm very excited to welcome you here. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
My name is Rachel Stone. As Peter said, I'm the Assistant Head of School for Faculty. This is my 20th year at Blair, and I will not go through all the different jobs I've had during my time here, but you might see my children who are 9 and 7 running around at some point today, especially if you stay for the football game. So the goal of this panel is to provide you a snapshot of the work we do as faculty with Blair students. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about a handful of areas of school life. And then we'll open the floor for questions, which is really, I think, what you want to get to, so we make sure we cover as many bases as we can. When I was thinking about this, I decided that the fundamental question everybody is asking is, why Blair? I assume you're going to a variety of open houses. I assume you're trying to figure out what it is about Blair that is different, that is impactful, that will influence your kids as they navigate high school, as they prepare for college, what will challenge them, what will nurture them while they are here. So I'm going to begin talking briefly about academics, and then I will turn it over to my colleagues here. When we think academics are really 3 pieces, and of course it begins with the people, as all important things do. So the way in which we hire and retain faculty is critical to the mission and the success of the school, and quite frankly, it's my favorite part of my job, that I get to bring in the best, most talented, most interesting faculty that we can find, and we do so in any number of ways, and I'd be happy to talk about that individually if it would be helpful. So just to give you again that snapshot, our faculty come from everywhere: UK, China, Iowa, Hawaii. We have 6 Blair alums on our faculty. We have professional musicians and artists. We have a number with law degrees, a few PhDs running around. And we also have faculty who are college athletes and who continue to pursue those pursuits even now. They come to us from many paths, and I think that's important. There isn't one model in which faculty find their way at Blair, and that's what makes us interesting and providing such a wonderful environment for your kids. We have faculty who've been here 30 years. 20 sounds like a lot. We have many with more, and we've got 2 Harvard teaching fellows who graduated from college just last spring. And while they look young, trust me, I've been in their classrooms, and they are rocking and rolling this year in the classroom and doing great. So how do we support them? How do we keep faculty here? Why is it that you will talk to so many faculty today who've been here for such a long time, including folks like me who came at 22 and stayed? So, my husband is here too, that didn't help, but. So we offer a year-long orientation program. I think most schools train their faculty, I certainly hope they do. But our orientation doesn't end in September when classes begin. We work with our new faculty throughout the year, whether it's nuts and bolts around parents' weekends or submitting grades, which they have to do next Friday, or whether it's talking pedagogy and what's going on in schools around the world. We have department heads for each academic discipline whose part of their job is to provide feedback all the time. How are things going? Let's talk about your classroom. This is what I saw today. What challenges are you facing as you're learning how to grade or in this new assignment? Our faculty travel. They do graduate work, whether it's in the summer or on sabbaticals. They talk about their teaching all the time. I love that about the culture of Blair. We also read as a faculty. This summer we read Paul Tough's book, How Children Succeed. I hope some of you read it. The word grit is flying around, but we talk about it in a meaningful way and try and figure out what that really means. In fact, on Thursday night we met in small groups to talk about that book and how it might influence what we're doing after this year, trying to get some takeaway messages. So even though our faculty come from such different backgrounds and pathways and what led them here, what do they have in common? And that's the most important thing, really. They love working with students. When we hire, yes, we want to know about their transcript, and we want to know that they've showed leadership and success. But I always ask them how they will feel at 10:30 at night when they're sitting in their sweatpants eating popcorn with 16-year-olds. And if they kind of go like this, they're probably not going to be coming to Blair Academy. So they love working with students, and they are as engaged with their subject matter and their coaching as they are with their students, and that's critical to know. So please, as Chris said, take time today to meet faculty, to ask them their stories, and to ask as many questions as you have. So the second component, of course, is the curriculum, the programming. What do we do at Blair that will help prepare your students, your children, for college? So I teach an upper school junior-senior elective in a course called epidemiology, which is one strand of public health based on my graduate work. And yesterday in class, they had to do small group presentations on sort of the history of cholera, which is kind of gross. And all the way up to this week in the news, if you've been paying attention, the UN is being sued for bringing cholera to Haiti after the earthquake. And so they were going back 1854, John Snow, all the way to the New York Times this week. And the reason I mention this is not because I think my class is a whole lot of fun, but because in one day of a small group presentation, they had to integrate public speaking, the use of technology, good communication, and good old-fashioned writing in one 55-minute block. And our students graduate from Blair very comfortable with all of that. And so they can interface with me, they can turn in a written document that's very well done, they can bring their laptops into the classroom and interface, and then they also are asked to speak effectively among their peers and with me in the classroom. And that's a wonderful thing. And that's what we do at Blair in terms of the skills. In terms of the curriculum itself, of course, wide-ranging, great depth, great breadth. We have electives that run the gamut from architecture and AP Chinese to Roman history, to video, you fill in the blank, and again, you can ask us about that today or check out the website. But the real goal is to offer your children the chance to try on something new. So when they graduate, maybe they've even found a passion. Certainly they've tried on something they hadn't thought perhaps they would. They feel like they've had an individual academic experience while they're here. And they've taken on some challenges, maybe failed a little bit along the way, and realized that they have the persistence as they head into college. And that's what, when we talk about superior academic preparation, that's what we're talking about. Opportunity to try on lots of new things, whether it's the myriad APs, whether it's the elective program, whether it's starting a new language. So why Blair? The third component, the most important component, is the students, your children, hopefully. We believe that the connection of those three pieces, the faculty, the curriculum, the students, and what we do to bring all of those together, that's what's important, right? Creating that environment where we are interacting face-to-face every day with our students. That's what makes a difference. In most colleges, you are not going to find an opportunity for students to be interacting on an individual level with their professors. You're probably not going to find a chance or a place where people care as much about what they are teaching, and we do. We do care about what we are teaching, but we care just as much about how and to whom. And that's different. And if you're not probably going to find that in college, you should be looking for it now in high school, and you will find that here at Blair. Other academic questions, please find me, please find Sam Bacon, who's our Dean of Academics, and ask any teaching faculty. But let me turn this over to Andrew Sykes, and then after all of us speak, we'll open the floor.
Hi, as Mrs. Stone said, I'm Andrew Sykes. It's my 14th year at Blair. Like Mrs. Stone, I came right out of college. Like Mrs. Stone, I've made my life here. My family lives here. My wife works here. Our 1.5-year-old daughter, you may see running around as well. And you see a very pregnant woman walking around as well. That's my wife. I've served in a variety of roles at Blair. I'm currently a history teacher. I teach 9th and 10th grade history. I coach the freshman basketball team and the varsity boys golf team. I'm also a monitor, which I'll talk about in a moment. And for 6 years, my wife and I served as housemasters of the freshman and sophomore girls' dorm. In terms of what a monitor is, unique to Blair, I think, I have a role that asks me to be an expert on the issues that freshmen face. I'm a freshman monitor. I monitor almost exclusively freshman girls. And I'm in charge of their academic life while they're at Blair for their first year. I don't travel with them to their sophomore and junior year because on some level we believe that there are issues that are unique to freshmen, that are unique to freshman girls, that are unique to freshman boarding girls, and we need to have faculty who are in tune with those issues and who are aware of those issues. As an advisor to students, students who will choose me to be their advisor, I will stay with them for 4 years and follow them through their time if they so choose. But the monitor situation is a little bit different. Again, to be an expert on a group of students and what issues they're going to face, to know some of those issues before they face them, before they even know it's coming, and to communicate with you as parents about what those issues are going to be and how we're going to confront them as a team working with your son or daughter. So in that way, being a monitor is unique. But all the roles that we serve at Blair, they have the same underlying issue, and it's not knowing kids as a group. It is, as Mr. Fortunato said, knowing kids as individuals. And no matter what we're doing here, if we're teaching, if we're coaching, if we're advising, or if we're monitoring your students, the question, your children, the question that we ask is how can I get to know you as a student better? How can I get to know you as an individual? And how can I use that information and that relationship to support you better and to help you succeed here? I am a history teacher. I think of myself more as a teacher of freshmen and sophomores, though. The history is almost a side note. As an expert on certain kids, the kids that I'm getting to know really, really well, I feel that I'm able to push them a little bit better, to support them when they need it, to know maybe when they need a little kick in the butt. Without knowing kids as individuals, I think it's really difficult for us to know how to do that, to know, again, when to push and when to support. So perhaps throwing around expert is a little lofty up here, but as faculty, that is our goal. To not only be experts in our subject, but most importantly, to be experts in the individual students that we work with. And if that seems like a lofty goal, it's because it is, but that's what we aspire to, because in fact, I think it makes our job much, much easier. To try to do what we want to do without knowing people as individuals would be really, really challenging. So we invest the time in your sons, we invest the time in your daughters, to get to know them so that we can have those relationships, so that we can work with them individually to make them, as Mr. Fortunato and Mrs. Stone said, their best selves here. Whether that's as a teacher, as a monitor, as an advisor, as a coach, as a housemaster, there are going to be adults here who are looking after your kids and getting to know them as individuals. And to the students sitting out there, if you don't want that, if that kind of freaks you out, my teachers are going to want to get to know me. My teachers are going to ask me questions about what I like to do, as Mr. Fortunato said, about what I stand for. If that freaks you out, Blair might not be the place for you. But as you get here, what you'll realize is it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have relationships with adults who care about you, and it's pretty cool as an adult to live in a place where I can have relationships with kids on that kind of a level as well. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Craig Evans. I'm one of the theater directors here. I've been here, this is my 20th year, and my wife as well, in our 20th year. There is no business like show business, and in Blair, business is good. Lots of schools sort of pay lip service to the arts, but we completely embrace them here at Blair, as you can see by this theater in which you're sitting. We are as focused on the really fine artists who want to become professionals in their field, to go into college and specialize in their arts, as we are on the members of our community who will fulfill an art requirement, sometimes kicking and screamingly, but as well they're going to be in audiences, they're going to be art exhibit viewers, and we're going to have guest artists come in for them to get to know, to see their work. So I think that's one of the things that separates us from other schools, is we care about your son and daughter as a future art goer, that he or she might choose to go to a concert or go to an art gallery and say impressive things when the time comes to talk to his or her date about why this painting is terrific or why Verdi wrote this opera. That's not to say that we don't really care about the artist who's going to go on to do this professionally. I'm so proud to say that we're now doing, and this is a plug, we're now doing the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which will open 2 weeks from Thursday, Friday, and today. And you're more invited to come and see this. It's my 100th high school show. And I want to say one of the great things about my job is the fact I get to work with rookies as well as people who have gone on to do this professionally. My memories go back all the way to some people who've become stars in their own right, but also some of my fondest memories are those rookies who just took a flyer and went, you know, I've always wanted to do a play before I go to college, and I'm not wrestling, I'm not playing sports this season, I'm going to be in the play. And to have those people even come back as alums and say, you know, that was one of the best things I ever did. I had a guy who missed alumni weekend, stop his car and run over when I was walking my dog to tell me, Julius Caesar was the best thing I did in high school. I'm like, good to see you, Joe. How you doing? What are you up to now? So I think that's just a rare thing in a school like this. If you are interested in theater, this is even more of a plug. You are definitely at the right place. We do 5 shows a year here. We have 3 different performing spaces, this theater, the Black Box, and an outdoor theater. And for our audience members, they get to see different kinds of performing in those different theaters, which is certainly a unique thing. And I do want to say that some of my experiences just of late, including this morning, speak to how successful our alums have been as artists. This, 2 weeks ago, went to see Pippin and got to talk to one of my favorite stars ever, who actually was the leading player in Pippin here. She's now the assistant to the executive producer of Pippin. So that's sort of fun to have that moment in the Broadway theater, you know, sharing that. One of my former students, unfortunately not from this school, but he had 3 movies out this summer and is now going to be playing Macbeth at Lincoln Center, which I will get to go see him. And he also, even though I was a Shakespeare teacher and director, he was one of the hosts of the PBS Shakespeare series, the only American host. So I'm a little proud of him, I can say. This morning I got my hair cut. What do you think? It's worth $15. Thank you. I don't know why I spent $15 on a $10 head, but it seemed worth it at the time. A father of one of our students was in the other chair, said good morning, and said that his son, Anthony D'Amato, with whom I played in a faculty-student rock band here, and who was Mark Anthony in the outdoor theater of Julius Caesar, his big show. He did a few shows here, but that was his big senior show. He just signed a record contract with a company that represents Steve Earle, Chris Christopherson, etc. So our alums are getting it done. They're going into the arts, and if they're not doing it professionally, they're remembering that the arts are important. One of our competitor schools puts 2 A's on their logo for academics and athletics. And at Blair, we would have 3 A's if we had to resort to such a logo anyway. And I'm really proud to be here, and I really hope you'll get to see our arts, fine arts and music, and certainly theater while you are looking at schools. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Joe Mantegna. I am the Associate Dean of College Counseling here. I get to do this with all of you at the other end of your Blair experience if you are so lucky to come join us in our wonderful community. I'm also a senior monitor. Maybe I'm not as big an expert on seniors as Andrew is on freshmen, but I'm trying to be an expert on seniors, and I'm also the boys basketball coach here. So I'm wearing a couple different hats and speaking to you today, and usually I don't speak with a microphone, so I hope I'm not speaking too loud. But I want to talk to you first about our athletics, and then also about college counseling. So the two worlds that I live in here most. First of all, the nuts and bolts of athletics. We have over 25 sports teams here. And while we have some very high-powered, nationally ranked sports teams, we have something for everybody. JV sports, third sports, and also know that we have substitutes for sports requirements as well. So whether you're doing the play or you're in the fine arts, we have a wonderful group of guys right now doing outdoor skills and kayaking and also community service. So there's a lot of different outlets if sports isn't your thing. If it is, this is also a wonderful place. You'll see later on your tours that we have a new $40 million athletic complex. You'll see our outdoor fields, our tennis courts, and our beautiful new field house on your tour later on. But what I want to tell you about our athletics is not about our facilities, and not about the nuts and bolts of how many teams we have, and not about our national championship wrestlers or the guys who are playing in the NBA or our national level rowers or our Division I athletes. It's more about the lessons that we impart through athletics. We are trying to build character through athletics. We are trying to get people to understand their best selves through athletics. We're trying to build leadership through athletics. The fields, the gyms, the lake, those are classrooms. Just like the dorms are classrooms, just like the science lab is a classroom, we feel like our athletic venues are classrooms. We are teaching life lessons, whether it's third soccer, whether it's beginners, the first time they jump into a boat and try to row, which is often a very humorous thing, or whether it's our very, national championship wrestling program. We are trying to build life lessons through athletics. And we're trying to build through adversity. It's a great arena for people to fail and come back from failure. It's a great arena for people to learn to lead and to learn to be led. And we feel like it's wonderful lessons that our students learn. And I'll just share with you, one of the mottos that I use with my basketball team is cause over self. And Mr. Fortunato has come here and talked a lot about service and selflessness. It's something we talk about in our athletic program. We put it on our shirts, we say it every day. We use it as a balancing point for our teams. Are you more interested in the cause, or are you more interested in yourself? And the other motto we talk about, and again, a lot of teams use similar mottos, is deserving success. Everyone wants to win on game day, everyone wants to win the regatta, everyone wants to win the softball game, but do you deserve to win? Have you put in the work? Have you prepared? Have you been selfless? So those are the beautiful lessons that are imparted across our athletic programs. Whether the teams are winning or losing, whether the players are at a high level or a beginner level, those are what we're trying to do, and that's the way we teach. And so, while we have these beautiful facilities, don't let our facilities define us. I hope that the lessons that our students learn through athletics will define our athletics more than our NBA athletes or our championship wrestlers or our college-bound student athletes. It's those lessons. Now I'm going to make a very, very awkward segue into college counseling. And there it just was. You students that are sitting out here, many of you that I know, familiar faces out here, it's great to see you. You're going to be doing this again in 4 years. And we're very proud of what we do on the other end for our seniors. We're very proud of our college list. We're very proud that 100% of our seniors obviously go on to four-year colleges. And we're most proud of how ready to be successful they are, regardless of the name of the college on the bumper sticker. They're incredibly ready to be successful college students. But there is a process in place to make sure that we find a good fit for our seniors. And I am one of the 3 people that works with the seniors on their way out. And just understand about our school. While we have a wonderful college list, Mr. Fortunato was more concerned, as was Mr. Hardwick, his predecessor, about match. About finding your son or daughter a place where they can continue on and be successful. Whether that's a place with 40,000 undergraduates, like the University of Wisconsin, or whether you need to go to Amherst College with 1,500 undergraduates, or somewhere in between. And really what we do with the college process is it's really a process of self-discovery. I'm sure you guys that are out here that are 13 and 14 years old right now, you're trying to figure out who the heck am I, and where do I fit? Oh my gosh, this is overwhelming, I'd rather be home in bed. Okay, well it's the same thing is going to happen in 4 years as I head off to college. Who am I? What am I good at? Where is a place that's going to fit me where I can continue to be successful after Blair? And that's what we're going to really work hard at the other end of this. So we hope to get to work with a lot of you at the other end of your process. And I will end with this little anecdote. I had a family on campus last week, and I really wanted this family to choose Blair, and I was espousing the virtues of Blair, probably a little bit over the top. I'm Italian, I tend to do that. And I was talking about all the passions of all the adults here. You know, whether it's the chemistry teacher shooting rockets over top of the science building, or whatever it is. And I was going on, talking way too much. And the father finally stopped me and interrupted me. He said, Coach, he said, you guys do passion unbelievably well here. That speaks for itself. Thank you.
It's wonderful to see so many past parents here with their younger children and Blair alums in the audience today. My name is Carolyn Conforti-Browse. I'm also a Blair alum. I'm also a parent of 2 Blair graduates. And my jobs in the past at Blair, I think I've worked in almost every department and that there happens to be at Blair. At one point, my daughter gave me the title Dean of Miscellaneous. My current responsibilities are teaching in the English department, which I dearly love, coaching softball, and being the director of leadership programs, primarily working with seniors. And I'm going to speak to you a little bit about community and leadership at Blair. I have found Blair as a community to be, as the headmaster said, a very unique place, and particularly because of our location. We're far enough away from everything that our faculty stay here all the time. The idea of driving to New York sometimes on a Saturday night to meet your college buddies just doesn't happen, and you do wind up, even as a 27-year-old, in the front row cheering for your advisee in the awful lip sync contest and having a great time and feeling a little odd about that, but you have fun with your students as a faculty here. So the community, really in its insularity, is an incredible place, just because of this wonderful location. But the community is a strong place because of what's in place at Blair. Our students, and the student panel, with apologies to my wonderful peers here, the student panel really is the highlight of the day. It is part of my job to make sure that you could pluck nearly any student onto that panel and have them be impressive and to have them be able to find their voice. So the 2 components here about leadership and community, are achieving satisfaction and ownership in something that you do and finding your voice. And that's a huge endeavor for a high school kid. It's not just speaking up, it's not just giving a speech on Shakespeare, it's not just giving a speech for student council. It's finding out, what do I have to say? What do I have to say that's different from the person sitting next to me? What do I own of my achievements? It's about finding a challenge that is uniquely mine and having the satisfaction that comes from knowing that my name is connected to that endeavor. Whether it was the arguments in the 3-hour meetings that resulted in the dance on Saturday night, or the community service project to rebuild fences as our juniors went on in the opening of school. It's the planning stages, it's figuring out, what do I want to do, how can I do it, owning the success or the failure of that endeavor, and feeling satisfied that I'm connected to what I'm doing. So as a community, we really work to make sure all of our students have this opportunity. Not just the ones who pop out of their seats and volunteer for everything and sign up for every activity as if they're collecting badges, but for the ones who are also standing on the sideline wondering, is that for me? We have a culture that actively looks at and grabs every student. That's always been important to Blair. And I think I'll cut this a little bit short because I know I want to preserve time for questions. But I'll close with, I just recently, last spring, received one of my favorite thank yous from a student. And she wrote to me, she said, I remember you are, thank you very much, I'm heading to my college graduation. I remember how much you did for me, and I remember how much Blair did for me. I remember you were a Melvillian, you loved John Donne, and you loved Toni Morrison. I couldn't get you the autographs of the other two, but I stalked Toni Morrison for 2 years at Princeton and found her autograph. Had her autograph a book for you. And in my favorite part of the thank you note was the last line. She said, you have no idea how often the memory of your scrunched up, disapproving face has saved me from disaster at college. Thank you so much.
Too much, that's what we do, but we have a little time for questions, and then please find us individually in the spaces today, and we'd be happy to answer other questions. So, what needs to be asked right now? What's on your minds? In the back.
What determines class size?
You mean individual class size, not grade. So our average class size is about 11, and we pretty much stick to that. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
We will occasionally, so for instance, I teach one section of EPI, so I'll take up to 15 because it's their one shot to take it. We don't like getting bigger than that because we lose all the things we just talked about in terms of getting to know students so well. But that's where we're hovering right around, is 11. Way in the back. Yay, student.
What is the transition like your first day, just coming out of middle school and a whole new school?
When you ask that same question when the students are up on stage, it's a great question, okay? Yes, please.
You mentioned about advisory, and I guess the child has the opportunity to choose their own advisor. What is that selection like? What is that process like? And can you give an example of what the conversations are like?
Sure. So students, as I said, are assigned a monitor when they arrive, so they have someone when they first set foot on campus that they're meeting, and they're working with from literally their first moments on campus. Over the course of the first month, we have a period of time set aside for students to choose an adult who they've come into contact with, generally either a teacher, a coach, a dorm parent, someone they're going to see often, but sometimes they find a connection in someone who sits at their formal dinner table with them. Or as a freshman, we take them on a retreat for 2 days and a night into the woods, and they might find that connection with the faculty leader of their group on the retreat. So that's kind of the timing. As a monitor or as a housemaster, we'll work with students to continue to engage them about, are you getting to know your teachers? Is there one or two who you feel comfortable asking? Once that process is over, oftentimes it works really well, and students will stay with that advisor for 4 years, but it's not perfect. And so students at the end of each year have the opportunity to leave their advisor and to move on to somebody else. I see one of my advisees over there who I was a monitor for freshman year, and I've been her advisor for 3 years since, because we had a connection freshman year, and she made the awful mistake of asking me.
We were talking about this question, and actually it was David Mascarenas, his mother over there, who gave one of the best answers I've ever heard about Blair's system. He said, whatever you do, don't get rid of the system of having the students choose their own advisor, because you come in, and this speaks to your question a little bit in the back, you come in as a student and you are immediately sort of on an equal plane with the faculty around you, deciding which one of them, and that really takes away that sense of distance between faculty and student in a very nice way, and a very empowering way. So both, you know, and I have to say, I've never thought of that, and again, you know, our students are pretty impressive.
All right. Thank you very much for your attention, and again, we look forward to talking to you more.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone. Beautiful day. It's a great day. Thank you for the energy that you brought to our Saturday morning. I'm looking forward to your opportunity to meet many of our other students today. As Peter said, I'm the assistant head of school. I'm also the head boys tennis coach, and I've had a number of other roles here. Everyone's spoken about their children. So I have 450 children. Their names are Abby, Annika, Batuli, Luke, Ollie. Should I keep going? Should I go to the whole student body? My role as assistant head for student life is to oversee various aspects of the lives of our students, and that includes weekend activities, the discipline system, student leadership, our day-to-day operations. I run Monday school meeting. Our senior class council runs Friday school meeting, which was festive yesterday, and there were, anything from a series of announcements of the many victories that we had over the weekend in sports, and then also announcements such as the Science Mythbusters Club, the Ping Pong Club, what else did we have? The book club. There's a young man who has started his own club and is trying to get a group of students to work together on the crafting of a novel. So if we have many clubs and organizations here, but if there's one that we don't have and you as a student would like to start, you simply submit a proposal, seek a faculty advisor, and launch your club. And a number of students have done this year. I am not going to speak much longer at all because this is about the students. And we're going to go down the line. Each student is going to briefly introduce themselves, starting with Paige. And then we'll move on to, I'm going to ask a few questions first, just to kind of prime the pump, and then we'll take questions from the students in the audience. So without further ado, Paige.
Hi everyone, my name is Paige. First of all, welcome. Second of all, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Paige, I've been here for 4 years. I live in Lock Hall this year, so I'm a prefect to the underclassmen, freshmen, and sophomore girls. Also, my sister went here for 4 years before I did, so I've been exposed to the school for a while. I live about an hour away in Kingstown, New Jersey, and after school, I'm on the cross-country team for my 2nd year in a row. And in the spring, I row crew, which is where I spend most of my time.
Hi everybody, I'm Luke Ciancarelli. I'm from Andover, New Jersey, where the cows slightly outnumber the people. I'm a day student, and I came into Blair as a sophomore. I attended high school before this, and I kind of wanted a little more of a challenge. I came home and told my parents, guys, I never talk, sleep through history class, I want a challenge. And so I came here, I'm absolutely loving it. I run the student-run college group. I'm a Prospective. My name is Jack Saxton. I'm from Wrigleyville, Pennsylvania, another small town. Yeah, I came here just a very few weeks ago, and I'm still kind of getting used to it, but I like it a lot. I run cross country after school, and I'm getting ready for youth sports, which I haven't decided yet. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Paula Hong. I'm from Duluth, Georgia, but I was born in Bayside, New York, and so I have a couple of family members up here. That's how I kind of got introduced to Blair. And growing up, always being in a public school, I kind of wanted to challenge myself like everyone else, and so I chose to come to Blair. And sports I play. Last year I did golf during the spring, JV basketball during the winter, and volleyball during the fall. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Demetrius Datarus. I'm from Darby, Pennsylvania, a little suburb outside of Philadelphia. I'm a four-year senior. I live in Inslee, as I am a prefect for freshmen and sophomore boys. I play football, basketball, and I run track. I'm also involved in the course and numerous things at Blair. I love my whole entire experience.
Thank you, guys. So Demetrius, you're a prefect. Jack lives in Inslee. We have an interesting dynamic going on. Would you talk a little bit about the role of prefect, what that has meant for you, how that's gone so far this year, and then we'll let Jack talk about his impressions of what a prefect is and how prefects have helped him transition into the school year.
So a prefect is a senior, in the boys' dorm, a senior and girls' dorm, that kind of lives in the hall, lives in the dorm. He's kind of the big brother or big sister. And the position is to guide and to nurture the kids and to make sure that they're on the right path. And that's specifically why I chose to apply to be a prefect. I really felt that I was going to have a direct opportunity to be with them at the start of their path. They come in and we have all these different ideas, and they're young, and trying to figure out, life and this new transition. And I have this opportunity to really make sure that they have that transition and smoothly go throughout the whole entire year and have this path set so they can succeed throughout everything. And I can be there, I can be a big brother to them, and I can hang out in the dorm, we can watch games together, we can just talk and have fun. And at any given time, kids will pile into my room. I have a tiny little center that kids will pile in and we'll all laugh and listen to music. And there's a kid, Justice Nance, he's a freshman. On flight deck, he's not in my dorm, but he's considered my little brother, the little brother, sister's brother here. And every day he'll come up and go, brother! And we'll hug and we'll laugh and have these moments. And these moments, that's why I chose to be a prefect, because you get to really impact them in his life, and you get to really guide them in the way that will help them prosper, help them succeed, because I've seen the whole spectrum. I came in as a freshman, now I'm a senior, I know where you can fall off, I know where you can succeed, and I really want to make sure that they don't have those moments and they can have the tools that'll help them do that. Thank you.
Yeah, prefects are really helpful. I know Dimitri's room firsthand gets really crowded when all of us pile in for a hangout session with Dimitri's. They wake you up when you sleep through your alarm in the morning. They make sure you go to bed at 11 o'clock when it's lights out. But it's more than that. They tell you, what's going on with Blair when you first come in. They help tell you, what classes you're in. They show your schedule, that you go here in the morning, you do this, you do that. They give you advice on how to set up your room so you've got more space to, put your carpet. In Inslee Hall, at least, we definitely have a really good relationship with our prefects. So,
thanks, guys. Luke, would you talk about your favorite teacher, favorite class? It's a tough one. I know, that's why I gave it to you.
I have to say my favorite class is AP Chem, at least this year, upstairs. And it's really not science, it's definitely not science. We come into class and it's very lab-based. And they want to have a previous foundation.
Look at these guys, when you're talking to them.
It's a challenging course, but all the ingredients to succeed are given by upstairs and with the book and the course that's throughout. It's a lot of fun and it challenges me just that. There's especially kind of realizing some of the science program because I'm pretty interested in the sciences. I took a biotechnology course last year, and it was all lab-based. It was all hands-on science, and it really allowed me, and I'm a relatively tactile learner, to get a great understanding of the material. And then it's not something I went to the doctor and had many other schools to do this lab-based science. And yeah, I just say that.
Thanks. Paige, would you mind speaking about the class? You can look at both sides of the spectrum, freshman year, now senior.
This question is hard for me because, like Luke, I'm taking AP Science this year. But also, I can't deny my love for my freshman world history class with Mr. Clark. It goes by Luke. That was actually my very first class at Blair. First thing Monday morning, 8 o'clock. I went to his classroom, and he started off by telling us how he actually went to Blair. He was a faculty student, and then he graduated and went to law school and was a lawyer, and then sold everything he owned and backpacked and all these different places around the world, and then came back to teach about it. So having him as a teacher at the time, I didn't know he would impact my life so greatly. But then last summer, I went on a trip to Kenya with him and a bunch of other students. So at the time, his class, my very first class, they really impacted me because I knew it set the standard for the rest of my education here. So not only did I really enjoy the subject matter, but he was a really great first teacher. But then, like Luke said, with the AP Sciences, it's 100% inquiry-based. So it's up to the students to decide how they're going to go through the class and what kind of standards you're going to set for yourselves. So we do labs, we take notes, we do group work. We actually just read the Nobel Prize winning article because it relates to our class very closely. But both are very, very interesting.
Thank you. Paula, we want to hear from you. Would you talk about the most memorable moment outside of the classroom, dorm, weekend activities, or sports? You think a really memorable moment?
Well, ever since I was little, I always liked birthdays. And so last year, it was around March exam, and it was, my birthday's March 5th, so a lot of my friends told me that they couldn't make it, and how, you know, some of my other friends said they had sport practices, they couldn't come. And then, so I wasn't really depressed, but I was kind of like, oh, my birthday's not going to be as special as it was. And then, so a couple of my friends said, well, they can make it. So we all went down to the Blairstown Inn, where a lot of my friends go still. And I went in with my friends, and all my other friends who said they couldn't make it were all there waiting for me, and they were all standing up. And we had a really good time, and that was a really special moment for me, just because when I was younger, I always wanted kind of a surprise birthday, and you can't tell your parents that you want a surprise birthday. So last year was a really special moment for me.
Demetrius, you're about to head off to college in a few months, if you make it through the next few months. How have you grown here as a student? And you talk just a little bit about what Blair has done for you to prepare you for this next step. And I'll let Paige address that after.
First of all, it's Blair, coming to Blair was the best decision I've ever made. 14 years old, deciding that I was going to Blair, to make that big jump, to learn how to grow up. I think what Blair's meant to me really is, first and foremost, understand the importance of leadership and good leadership. Understand that you don't have to be the best player, the best singer, the best actor, the smartest student to lead. That leading is within everyone, and that you can figure out these ways to show that, just the way you act, the way you carry yourself. I think also in support and the strength of family, something that really has touched me in the whole entire process. The idea that from everyone, from the teachers to the students to just the coaches to everybody, it's just a huge support group, a huge community that really helps you reach your goals. And you know, you'll get the constructive criticism that you need, you'll get the different things that will help you throughout your academics, throughout your athletics, throughout your extracurriculars, that really shape you. And then combining all those things, you really grow up and you become mature. I think that's the greatest thing that's ever happened. Coming in as a freshman, I thought I had it all planned. Playing football, and I figured I'd play 4 years and hopefully end up some big, huge school. And I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and I thought I was going to do all these great things. And Blair really told me, figure out who you are first, and figure out how you're going to lead, figure out what you're going to do, figure out what really makes you you, and then figure all that other stuff out. You have 4 years to really create relationships, really create experience. And if I didn't come to Blair, I don't know if I really would have had that. I really feel that everything else would have been so, grades, sports, music, and that Blair really allows you to take all those things and, mold this picture of who you really want to be.
Thanks. Paige?
Demetrius actually prefaced this really nice for me. I wanted to start out by saying that when I came to Blair, I thought it was very important. I felt defined by the fact that my sister had come here for 4 years. And I thought that was really important to my story. But as years have progressed, I've kind of realized that it doesn't really matter, if that makes any sense. I would start out by telling all the tours I gave, all the people I met, ask them, oh, did you know my sister before I came here? But it has actually slipped my mind. I almost forgot to mention it this morning. Because this has begun my own story. And I'm starting to discover more about myself every day, and it's really an impactful experience because you get the chance to try a whole bunch of things you never got to try. My sophomore year, I decided that I was going to take the introductory art class to basically every single art that Blair offers. So I had never touched clay before, I took ceramics, I never held a charcoal pencil, and now I'm actually very into art. So it's really up to you to decide where you want to go. And Blair teaches you that even if you have no idea, which is what I thought when I was coming in, or if you're like Demetrius, you have it all planned out. But just know that plans are subject to change, and that's okay here.
Thank you. I think I have a few more questions I can ask these guys, but it's really important for us to hear your questions and address those. So, students, what questions do you have for our panelists? Who's going to be the... Yes, young man in the back.
I asked this before. What was the transition like from just coming out of middle school, you're in 8th grade, you're not that old yet, just coming there, big school with all these buildings, not knowing where to go?
Thank you. I'm going to let Jack answer that since he's monthly. And then one other can respond as well. But go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, so I went through the admission process just recently last year. And I just underwent the transition from being a middle school student to being a boarding school high school student. And it's not as different as I thought it would be. It is different. It is harder in some ways. I do have a roommate, and I have to be nice to him. He's nice to me. But it's also a lot more fun, and it's a lot more challenging. The classes I have are harder, but I don't think necessarily it's any worse because my teachers live with me, and I've honestly met with my teachers several times to get help already. And I think I'm in a better position than I would have been just continuing through the school I was at. And to answer your question about the transition, I showed up for preseason just about a month ago, and expecting it to be so hard and for me to have to find the building where I live, and then find the buildings where I go to class, and find out where I have to meet to play sports, and find out where I have to meet to have breakfast or dinner. And really, you get the hang of it really fast, and you also are going into school with a bunch of other people who are experiencing the same new thing that you are. So in the end, you're really in this together with your own class.
Let me ask Luke to follow that up, and I would ask that you'd speak just a little bit as well about how you transitioned in as a day student and how you made connections at Blair as a day student.
I'd say the strength of Blair community is really powerful. It's something I've never experienced in school before. Coming right in, it's really warm and it's really open. I remember coming during when I was in those seats, and I was like, these people can really be that nice. Well, it's not, it really is as open and warm as you feel it is. So being scared about transition is very understandable, but it's as smooth as possible to be. And especially coming as a day student, a lot of people are worried, oh my gosh, I don't get to bond with the boarders the same amount, but in the end, you really do. You're with classes them all the time. After school, you're in the sport activity, the choir activity, and you get really close to the other day students, which is pretty awesome. So you end up being pretty good.
You are a talented musician, Luke. You read big school with a big band and so on. Can you talk a little bit about your music experience at Blair?
I'm a pretty serious pianist and organist. It's something I love. It's something I've always known I have a passion for. And the fact that Blair could kind of take that and grow it is something I really appreciate. I play in the string orchestra, which is the I leads, and we're doing some fantastic pieces this year. It's really nice stuff together with some other composers. I auditioned actually to be the all-state pianist, ended up getting that position last year, which was pretty cool. And it's something that Blair's kind of helped me through the road with. You know, being a rounded student is something that Blair really encourages, and it's encouraging me, and it gives you time to not only figure out yourself, but it gives you time to explore a lot of your different passions. So to do athletics, be that student you want to be, and then reach out to the arts, it's kind of all encompassing. I really appreciate that.
Thanks to Peter, I'm a modest guy, I'm sorry for the spot there. Other questions? Students. There's one right there. Go ahead. Oh, sorry, I thought you were pointing to the student. Sorry, there.
What is the most important thing that you guys think, like, why Blair? Why come to this school?
Why Blair?
That's a really tough question. That's a tough one to put into words, because I think we're all here because we share the same passion for the things that Blair stands for, and I think that we've all kind of found our niche here, which is what Blair offers to everyone. So it gives us the opportunity to do a whole bunch of different things and become our own people, and with the help of the faculty and your advisors and your teachers, it's impossible to go wrong. I think that's the way it is, but I'll let you guys jump in.
No, I totally agree with Paige. I remember Mrs. Conforti saying it's really something that sold me personally on Blair. Mrs. Conforti is my advisor. She said, Blair allows you to find your voice. And that's really true. And I have a lot of other friends who go to boarding school and summer camp, so I know a lot of people who go to Petty, and even Exeter, schools like that. And the main difference there, I feel, is community, leadership, and then the ability to find your voice that Blair really puts an emphasis on, and not a lot of other schools do.
I think the aspect that Paige touched on is the idea of what you stand for. I think that's really what sells you. The idea that you stand for and that's, like I said, the right things. You stand for the community, strong, not just the right things out there, but really strong. You get to know who everybody. I mean, I know all these people. We have conversations, we eat lunch together. We know about these people. We stand for family. We really support each other. So we stand for excellence. We stand for pushing people to be the best they can be. I think that's what sells Blair. You can talk about statistics and who's there, who has athletes, but all that stuff is whatever. But Blair stands for the right thing. We want you to come here. Make Blair a better place because you're here. Mold, change Blair. What can you bring? That's what we stand for. Incorporating you into our family. That's what's so
And I thought we stood for beating Petty.
Paula, go ahead. I have something to add too. Like I said, I'm from Georgia, and so I'm not constantly under my parents' wing anymore. I kind of learned coming to Blair to be more independent, and I've definitely grown more mature. I think Blair does a really good job of keeping our community as a whole. We always have such great weekends here, and I always find something new to do with different people that I don't usually meet or hang out with. So Blair does a really good job of keeping us as a community, but also letting us grow to be more and find more to do ourselves.
Yes.
I was just wondering, do you feel that day students miss out on some of the community that you're all talking about, the weekend things, and do you feel that lessens the experience in any way?
That's a great question, and a lot of people worry about that. But the way I think about it is the best of both worlds scenario. You're not only sleeping in your own bed, but then you get to come back and be part of this community, and you have kind of an active choice, which is really nice, versus kind of always having to be up here. And sometimes it's harder to do work with borders. So the balance between being a day student is actually what I've found a lot of comfort in. It's made me really become a great organizer of my time, especially. and it's made me a stronger student and a stronger person. So I think it's a valuable thing, and you're still as much as part of the community. I mean, the School 40 has Sunday brunch and things like that come up and pancakes at house, so you still feel pretty part of the community.
Would someone touch on what we do here Tuesday nights? What happens at 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights? Demetrius. Because I say that because day students often participate in what Demetrius is going to talk about and our art openings on Thursday nights. Go ahead.
That's a great point. At Blair, Dr. Marinola calls to Blair, Society of Skeptics. And in a nutshell, what we do, we bring in leaders and people that is leaders in their field that have something important to say. It's kind of like bringing the news or bringing the outside world into Blair. You know, we talk about economics, we talk about arts, we had a group that's supporting people in North Korea right now in that whole regime and trying to help support them to change that situation. They were here last night. And so it's flexible, having going on Tuesday, and you can be in Armstrong from Calgary, you might see on the tour later, but it really is bringing kind of the outside world, these experienced speakers, these leaders, these people that are really knowledgeable about their subjects, bring it to Blair so you can have like first-hand, direct connection with them. Afterwards, you can talk to them, and ask them questions, and now you're connecting, now you're networking. It's this like, aspect that everybody is allowed to be involved in, even the outside community, regardless of whether they're not. So it's a really important experience.
Other questions? Yes, the student right there.
Being a student athlete, is it hard to handle your work and your life at the same time?
How do you balance athletics and being a scholar?
Luke and I are both on the crew team, which is a really, really big time commitment. To make that clear. It's a really big time commitment, but Blair is designed so that you can get your work done during study hall, and you can still have the opportunity to have fun in your sports and hang out with your friends before dinner and during dinner. And you also get a free block, which is a really, really important time to do your work during the day. The teachers they're very understanding. They're on your side. They don't want you to fail, so they're going to make exceptions, and they're going to make it manageable for you. But other than that, I think sports and I think arts are a really big part of the experience. So it's all designed to fit together really nicely.
Yes.
How are roommates assigned?
How are roommates assigned? The admission office leads the roommate assignment process for the first year, since they get to know new students, prospective students, so well through the admission process. So they work with my office. They make the matches based on their knowledge of you. And then after that, in subsequent years, you can request your room. And I will say that, give Mr. Kern a little credit, the admission office does an excellent job of making those matches. Because students often stay with the same roommate. Incidentally, Demetrius, the young man he roomed with his freshman year, is now a prefect in the flight deck. And did you guys room together beyond freshman year, or you're just close friends?
Yes, we're really close friends.
Yeah, we've been singers together. Is that?
I have had my roommate for 4 years at Blair, so we've been together for a really long time. We're two peas in a pod, so I think it worked out really well. Since freshman year, and now we're prefecting back in the dorm where it all started, so I think that's always a good thing.
Yes.
For income juniors, how are
The same way, but the admission office, you should rest assured that we have about 20 new juniors every year, so you would not be the only one. And it's always a wonderful group. We actually we could go at them down to my house for a dinner with some of the seniors who were juniors, and they all talked about their experience and gave the new juniors some tips. So we do take care of our new juniors. For everyone else, Blair has about 30 new sophomores, and as I said, about 20 new juniors. So that class of 85 to 90 in the freshman year gradually grows And then Paige and Demetrius will be walking through the arch with about 130 seniors this year. So, and I think, you know, you can talk about the new juniors and new sophomores and how they integrate into the school.
Some of my best friends were new juniors last year, and we all lived in the same dorm together. We all ran cross country together, so that was really easy to make the transition for them. And we are all living in different dorms now, but we're all still really, really close, and it's fine because we've only known them for about a year and a half now. But it's the same as the people we've known from freshman year. My mom is still really close.
Great. Thank you. Good question. Yes, one of the two young men next to each other in the back.
For the students, what is your favorite thing about Blair? Something that when you wake up makes you excited to go to school? Something to look forward to.
Thank you. That's a good question.
The people.
Oh, the favorite thing about Blair?
Yes.
That was it. Yeah. What is your favorite thing about Blair?
My favorite thing is the people here and the community, and waking up every day and going to see my friends in class, and the people who I'm not nearly as close with, but I can still talk to. And Demetrius and I have been sitting next to each other in school meetings for 4 years now. So we don't have a lot of time in class together, but we sit right where your sport day is sitting, the two of us right next to each other. So that kind of is one of the small bonds, but it's definitely the people here that make it worth waking up from your tiredness.
I definitely echo that and say that getting up and even seeing the faculty, a really close bond you end up getting to, because it's something that doesn't normally happen in a high school experience. It really becomes a pretty awesome and exciting thing. The fact that you're looking forward to seeing your teachers, looking forward to what you're going to see in class, it makes school on the whole a lot more enjoyable.
Well, I like the tradition personally here at Blair. Last year, before I came here last year, I didn't really know how strong Heading Week and Headmasters Week was. But you know, your first year here, Heading Week is so much fun with the pranks played on our headmasters. I think last year the headmaster office was filled with balloons, so you just couldn't walk in. And then just like the blue chocolate milk or blue milk during headmasters. The traditions here are just so, it makes, you know, life here more of like a family gathering kind of, you know, formal dinners, that's tradition, just the tradition.
I think I wake up every day because of the challenge. I think every day you wake up and you have a new thing to do. You go to class, you study a new subject, you're in the sport. Every day you have to try to make yourself better than the day before. And I wake up for that reason to get better support session. Better support, you know, getting up the next day. Get a bad test the day before, get up and study hard the next day. Get a bad practice the day before, get up and practice hard the next day. You know, and that idea of continually just having to challenge yourself to be better. I get up for that reason. So no matter what happens, I'm feeling better and anything, and constant reminder that I can continually challenge myself and continue to get better throughout this whole entire process. That's why I get. Jack. Only a month and you
I wanted to say that I like all of it. I do really like the people. I like the challenges. I am new, so I'm still kind of deciphering why I like it here so much. But honestly, when I wake up in the morning and I get dressed, I go down to breakfast, I don't really have a single thing in my mind that I'm excited for. I'm just excited for the day. I'm excited to go and be with the people who I go to school with here at Blair. I'm excited for the cross-country race that's coming up. I'm excited to get a 6.0 on my next test. I'd say that I don't know if I can really say there's one thing I like about it most. I just really like the whole school.
Well, thank you. That is a good note to end on. Thank you very much, Jack. And thank you, Tim.